Are you ready for the Pats Nation? The only real deal Patriots postgame show. And now, CORSO CATONE.
Welcome into the Pats Nation, the only Patriots post-game show worth watching. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is in the booth, and you're with us live on YouTube, also live listening on Podbean. And hey, we want to hear from you today. We want to, hear from you, chat in. We got the 855-313-PATS. You can give us a call, weigh in on what went on today, 855-313-7287. And Joe has the live chat up going on YouTube. So chat in, call in. We want to hear from you. Got a lot to talk about as week 2 sees the Patriots travel to Pittsburgh and beat them 17-14. Yes, for our first win of the season. So the Patriots improved to 1-1 and the Steelers drop to 1-1. So gentlemen, I mean, I got the blue shirt on today.
Yeah, hey, it looks a hell of a lot better than that red shirt, Joe.
Well, for those of you who don't know, the blue shirt means the win. The red shirt means not so good because we're pissed off. So got a lot to get to today, including Mac Mania, Coach's Corner, our Sunday Stiff. And hey, anything you bring to the table, Mark, give me your impressions.
Well, listen, it was a win. You want my impressions? It was a win. What do you want me to say about it? It was a win. I mean,
that's it. The show's over. Thanks for coming in.
And, that's it. No, it was, listen, 17 points. If this is what the offense is going to show every week, Chris, it's going to be a real grind of a season because, I mean, come on. It's a win. I'm going to take it, but we're going to get into it. But I'm not happy with the performance.
Well, if it's going to be like this, we're going to have to get the defibrillator out for Mark over there, I think, And
just for the record, today I had a family function to go to, and I'm watching the game on my phone, and it was pure torture because my wife's telling me, you're antisocial. I said, leave me alone. I'm watching the game because Chris, and then I'll leave it at this: some imbeciles at this party are Tom Brady fans, not Patriot fans. Tom Brady fans, and they got the Tampa Bay game on in the bar area because they're Tom Brady fans.
In New England? In New England?
Yeah. I was going to lose it. That's
unacceptable. You should have walked in there with that creamsicles jersey thing.
That's unacceptable.
I'll tell you what, Brady came unraveled a little bit today. I mean, you knew they were going to win that because Jameson Winston and the Saints suck. I mean, suck. And you know what? You said it all along. They're going to roll through that division because the teams stink.
Yeah. But I don't mean to talk about Tampa Bay at all. This is a Patriots post-game show, but it just happened to come up in the conversation. Now, let's talk about the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, there's some things we need to poke at and pick at. I'm happy we got the win today.
Oh, I'm happy.
And all that. And they were favored by 3 or 2.5 coming in. If you bet them earlier in the week, you won the bet. If you took them right before the game, it went up to 3. So what do you say, gentlemen? Let's get started with Mac Mania.
Let's go.
Mac Mania!
21 of 35 for 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mark, what'd you think of that performance today?
Chris, listen, and I don't know what it is. And I'm not going to blame, everyone's going to want to blame Patricia and Judge again, right? Like they did last week. But listen, here's my thing. He just doesn't look comfortable, does he? Something's not right back there. It's the wrong reads, the wrong checkdowns. It's just something isn't right. He didn't look right today. Last week, I thought he played a little better actually last week than he did this week, and that's not saying much. But he just doesn't look comfortable back there, and I don't know what that is. Is it because McDaniels isn't there with them? I don't know. I don't want to go that route just yet, but something he didn't look good, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers prove just a tad better, but they're pretty similar. I mean, he had a 79, quarterback rating, whatever the hell that means. But you know what? He doesn't look comfortable. And you say, not Patricia, we'll get to Coach's Corner and talk about them, but you talk about Patricia, Judge, and so on. Well, forget Judge. Judge is he's the new cartoon character over there. He's just charting plays on the sideline, useless. But, I think that him being uncomfortable, and I'm not thinking of a pass today, but no. I think he being uncomfortable, okay, is a direct product of the operation of the offense, which looked uneven today all over the place. Now, the last drive, it looked good. They ran the ball well. The zone blocking worked. But as far as Mac Jones goes, and you could see him yelling at the sideline, talking to them about, let's go, come on, what the hell is going on, all those kinds of things. And your second-year quarterback, when that's happening, it's clearly affecting his play, Mark. But as far as specifically what he did on the field, talk about that interception because
so the interception, I think watching it the way I was watching it today, to me, it did not appear that he stepped into the throw, right? And I thought, and I'll have to go back and watch the post-game highlights, but it appeared to me that he was getting pressure off the edge, and it was almost like he had a pocket, but then it was almost like he was hearing footsteps that weren't there yet, and instead of stepping up, Chris, he kind of short-armed it, underthrew it, threw it to the wrong hash again, and it's picked off. But you thought he had a pretty good pocket to step into it. I don't think, in my opinion, he did. Maybe he did. The pressure was coming from the edge. Yeah. But, and listen, TJ Watt didn't even play, Chris.
No, I know. And for that interception, here's what bothers me about that. The decision-making. So Pittsburgh's in a cover 2 shell, which means they have 2 safeties playing on either hash, half the field, okay? If you want to break that, that route is going to be a seam. You split the 2 safeties, and then you thread that ball right in there. What ended up happening to me, it looked like, and I don't remember, who's the wide route on the route? Was it Parker? I don't know. But whoever the wideout was, it kind of dragged a little bit to one of the hashes right into the safety, Fitzpatrick. And Mac Jones needs to see that happening. You can't put that ball towards one of the hashes. It's throwing right into the 2. It's throwing right into the safety. Not only that,
and he threw it to the wrong hash.
He threw the wrong, and not only that, it was underthrown, which happened a lot today. That pass to Aguilar, and by the way, there was an Aguilar sighting today.
I'm glad there was Aguilar sighting because I'm still waiting for Devontae Parker sighting. I'm waiting for something, but we're going to get into that when we get into the offense.
He's invisible, Parker, but that throw down the sideline to Aguilar for the touchdown, even that, Mark, was short. It took a great play by Aguilar to come over and catch the ball.
And I don't know, was that a byproduct of the sore back from last week? The spasms?
I don't know. Those cops, don't give excuses. That's all you do is just give this guy a pass. Come on
I'm
now.
not giving him a pass. I'm asking a question over here.
He had a nice, clean pocket, okay? Doesn't look like he's stepping into the throws.
Well, let me tell you something. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that Thornton is hurt because he wouldn't be able to reach him with his speed.
Listen, I'm telling you, because it was a good play by Aguilar and a worse play by the defensive back, by the corner, who's in phase, turns around, but then doesn't make a play on the ball. So, we'll take it, of course, but he did that stuff all day, Mark. He did. He was short. The balls were hitting the ground. He was making bad decisions, a lot of overthrows today. And you're right. He just doesn't look comfortable. And I thought he had a good pocket, but he was very inaccurate today.
Stephen, we have a chat in from Stephen Vertucci, but Stephen, we're going to get into that when we get into the offense. We're going to get into that,
and that's going to be right now. But Mark, overall, I think he gets a B minus. C plus.
Talking about excuses.
C plus. Okay, C plus.
Oh, C come plus.
On. How do you know? You're watching it on that little phone over there.
Listen. I don't got those. I don't got an iPhone 4 like you. My screen actually opens up. It opens up. It opens up to a tablet now. My phone. So I actually had a pretty big screen.
we want to hear from you out there. Chat in, because Mark should be absolutely ashamed of himself.
Listen.
Absolutely ashamed of yourself. You should be not being home. But
so
yeah, Mac Jones, it was an uneven performance. I think
it was. You gave him a C+. I'd probably give him a C-.
That's harsh. That's a little harsh. He did throw a touchdown.
Well, you told me I was giving him excuses.
So, Mark, when it gets to the
bottom line, Chris, it was fair. It was fair. He didn't have a great game today, by no means, right?
Yeah. So, MacMania was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. And Mark, getting into the rest of the offense, and you know what, we'll lead right off with the offensive line. So Steve Vertucci, I hope I can call you Steve. It's Steven, it says. But props to the O-line, who did a good job in the second half when it was needed. However, both of these teams are not good, not close to being competitive with contenders, vanilla and pretty boring. So there's a lot there. Joe, very nice. Put it up on the screen.
Right?
Wow, I like that, Joe. I like it,
We can save the people having to listen to me for another 30 seconds. Read that. But
yeah. Well, I'll make it sure I was able to do it.
Joe, he likes to talk. He thinks he's in a courtroom, Joe. He wants to talk.
Hey,
But no, listen, with the offensive line, look, here's the thing for me. They played well. They played well when the play was happening. Okay. But what they sucked at today was penalties.
I was just going to say that they did have they had untimely penalties though.
So the team had 7 penalties for 55 yards. And I'll bet you.
And a couple of those were on first down plays.
Yeah, and most of those were on the offensive line.
You
had holding calls, but a lot of pre-snap penalties too.
Yep.
You had false starts, drive killers. Times when they were moving the ball pretty well, and then boom, you get a holding call. Yep. Andrews on that second to the last drive there, he gets a holding call. Yeah, tackles the guy. And he didn't need to do it.
No, he didn't need to do it.
He didn't need to do it. That guy was trying to undercut him. That tackle or the nose was trying to undercut him. He didn't need to do it. He just needed to push him down to the ground. That's all. So these were stupid penalties that were happening, all day long.
I agree. But
it was killing their drives.
But in crunch time on that last drive, they came up big and they ran the clock out, right?
As I said, they played well. They actually played well. I didn't have as big a problem last week as most people did all week.
But Chris, Steven brings up a good point, though. Vanilla and pretty boring. And Jesus, you told me that at halftime. When I was talking to you at halftime, you said, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So Steven's right on point. Steven's right on point with that.
Yeah, Steven, and thank you for the chat. We appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it was vanilla. It didn't get until the end of the game. At the end of the game, they started mixing things up a little more, where you started. And O-line, I thought that they played well in the zone blocking. Much maligned coming into the season about the changeover.
Well, they had how many yards did they have rushing today, Chris? 120, 127, 126.
Yeah, they had rushing for 124 yards off 31. Yeah, 31 attempts, 124 yards.
And they're going to have to do that to try to win games. Every game, they're going to have to. Like last week, I said they needed about 150 yards rushing. They didn't get it. Today, they got almost 125 yards rushing.
Yeah, listen, they were pretty balanced today. I mean, they threw the ball 35 times. They rushed the ball 31 times. So, I mean, that's pretty balanced. But it was vanilla. It was extremely vanilla throughout that game. There wasn't a lot. I didn't see a lot of screenplay. I didn't see a lot of rub routes, trying to get those tight ends free who really did nothing today. Not much, maybe a couple of catches, if that. I'll go through the numbers in a minute. But,
so let me ask you this: so who caught the ball other than J.J. Taylor was inactive, correct?
Yes.
P.S. Strong.
He was active.
He was active,
but he was just returning kicks.
He was, but at some point, you have to either activate Taylor or get Strong involved. Somebody has to pick up, Chris, the White piece of this offense.
Yeah.
If James White's piece of this offense, we thought it would be, J.J. Taylor, maybe. We thought it would be Ty Montgomery. He's on IR. Who's going to pick up that segment of the offense? Without that segment of the offense, this offense doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, they threw to the backs 4 times. Okay. They threw two to Harris, 2 to Stevenson.
But they don't have that burst
for 3 completions.
But they don't have that burst like White had. Like
No.
I still think Taylor's got. If you get him the ball in space, and Strong's got it. I mean, he was the fastest running back in the draft. So at some point, you're gonna have to get this kid involved in space out of the backfield.
Well, you've been screaming for J.J. Taylor for over a year.
And if you're not going to use Taylor, that's fine, but then get Strong involved. He was the quickest back in the draft.
Yeah.
But we don't like speed. We don't like speed, though.
No, especially when we get to the other side of the ball. But, yeah, I mean, no, they threw the ball to them only 4 times. But, again, to finish on the line, I had no problem with the way the offensive line played today. I thought they blocked well. The running game looked good. 124 yards rushing. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
That's pretty damn good. Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
But again, pre-snap penalties, stupid things. Didn't like the play selection on other than that last drive where they were really balanced. And I thought Stevenson. You know what we think of Stevenson and Harris. They're great backs, so we get to them now. And by the way, I don't know what the situation is with Harris.
Yeah, Harris looked like he came up a little lame there at the end.
Well, and on that last play of the game, and it wouldn't have happened if he just continues forward for the first down on the play before.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell he was thinking. So they had about 8 yards to gain.
Yeah,
on second down, I think it was, and so he rushes for about 5, and then slides down when he could have had probably 2 more, 3 more to get the first down, and that's the game, right? They had one more timeout at that point, but I think he was thinking, I'll stay in bounds. They'll have to use their timeout. And then that caused them to have to rush the ball again on third down, which they got. And that's the play he got hurt. And it didn't look good. He drove his right foot into the ground, and it looked like his knee kind of buckled. So
that's not good. That's not good. We'll have to pay attention to that. But otherwise, I thought the backs, ran really well. Harris had 15 carries for 71. Stevenson had 9 for 47. But don't you love the way Stevenson runs the ball, man? Yeah, I do. He's just, And if you get near the goal line, you're not keeping him out. You're just not keeping him out of the goal line, out of the end zone, But as well as the offensive line we think played today, and as well as the running backs looked, let's talk about the wide receivers. Yeah. So, I mean, again, you had Jacoby Myers, okay, is just emerging as that he's the go-to guy. I mean, he had 9 catches today for 95 yards off 13. So he missed 4, but I think those 4 were really on Mac Jones. I was going to say a couple of those were bad throws. And thrown into coverage. There was double coverage. There was, and one was skipped to him that I remember. So 9 catches, 95 yards, excellent. Aguilar, he finally showed up. He had 6 receptions for 110 yards. Now, that the long was that 44-yard catch for the touchdown. So, but you know what, Mark? I hate when people do that, don't you? Don't you hate when people say? Don't you hate when people say, "Well, but he got 44 yards. He had 100 and whatever it was, 10 yards, but 44 if it came on one play." Why? Well, you're not supposed to count that? Yeah, you're not going to count that. That really counts, doesn't it? I never it counts. I never understood that stupidity. So he had a pretty good game too. Yeah. He played. Listen, Devontae Parker. Let's talk about him for a minute. Okay. Yeah. So zero receptions for 2 attempts. What do you have? 1 or 2 targets today? 2? 2 targets, no 0 catches. Receptions. He had, I think, 3 targets last week. Yeah. 1 reception. And I think Parker was the recipient on that attempt to pick the interception. Yes. So he's had 5 targets in 2 games and 1 reception. Yeah. Now, all I heard all off season was what an upgrade your offense, your wide receiver room was because you brought in Devontae Parker. Chris, I don't know if it's our playbook. I don't know what the hell it is. Where is he? I don't know where he is. I think it's more of that than you would think because he's a possession receiver, okay? Yeah. He's not a guy that's going down the sideline. And for some reason, you want to throw 3 balls to, again, we'll get to Bourne in 1 second, but you only want to give Kendrick Bourne again. What did he get? 3 attempts. 1 catch, targets. 3 attempts, or 2 catches? Yeah, he had 3 attempts and 1 catch or 2 catches. I mean, his percentage is good. So Montgomery had a catch, didn't he? Or was that taken off the board because of a penalty?
Montgomery was inactive.
Not Montgomery. I didn't mean
Pay
Montgomery.
attention.
I meant
Just because he's away,
No,
he's out watching this thing
no.
on his phone.
Montgomery, Humphrey, same last. The Y at the end. I meant Humphrey.
Humphrey had two targets, 1 catch, and Bourne had 3 targets, 2 catches. So when Bourne's out on the field, okay, he's effective. He's
I don't
catching
understand.
balls.
I still don't get that.
I
don't get it. I don't get it.
But again, Parker, to get back to Parker really quick, he's a possession guy. You can't run him up the sideline. He's the guy that's going to catch back shoulder throws, deep outs, 50-50 balls, but they're not using him that way.
No.
So
And you're gonna listen. You're
him.
gonna have to. You're gonna have to start to incorporate him, Chris. Next week you're playing Baltimore. The week after you're playing Green Bay. I mean, you're gonna have, and then you got a couple of easy games, but then you're gonna have that difficult stretch. If you don't get him involved, you're gonna have a long season, Chris.
And the dude's saying all the right things. He's saying all the right things. I need to keep working to show the coaches what they need to see.
And Bourne is saying the same thing, basically.
That's what I'm saying. Bourne.
I'm still talking about Parker.
Now, Parker, you know what?
If you don't get Parker and Bourne involved, Chris, I don't know how you're going to win going forward.
I don't think you can. And again, that goes back to the play calling. And I don't know if it's too fast for Patricia at this point. We'll talk about that.
Well, Chris, let's talk about this for a minute then. Talking about it being too fast. So the first possession today, just like last week, the offense comes out, moves the ball right down the field, right?
Yeah.
We get the field goal. Okay, great. I didn't necessarily like the play calling as we get closer to the into the red, but whatever. We'll talk about that after. But then afterwards, on your next possession, Pittsburgh now seems to make an adjustment on defense.
Right.
After you go right down the field.
Yep.
But we can't count. It doesn't seem like we have the ability to counter that, Chris. This is 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah. And I want you to save that for Coach's Corner. It's a little tease for all of you out there. When we get into Coach's Corner, you could see what we're going to be talking about. Mark the tight ends. Listen, 4 attempts, 4 targets, 0 catches. But they're just, again, we're going to bring this up in Coach's Corner because they're not doing enough to get these guys.
But Chris, when you were last year, when we were in the red zone, our biggest threat and our biggest target was Hunter Henry. What happened? Did they throw those plays out of the playbook? Where are those plays?
I don't know.
Where are the plays?
They're not doing enough to get them free. They're not dragging them to the outs. They're not rubbing, defenders off to get them open. And they're not using Jonnu Smith as we thought they would coming out of the backfield. Some of those jets with him, even though he's not as fast, but they use him that way. There's just no creativity. I mean, it's just vanilla, bland, as Steven says. So,
and if they continue with that type of an offense, you're going to score 17, 20 points a game. Mm-hmm. Our prediction on wins is going to be too high.
Well, let's talk about our prediction on wins. I'm 100%. I had the loss last week. I had the win this week. You had it reversed.
But let's say I'm 100% where I'm 1-1. What does it matter? At the end, Joe. Does it matter, Joe, at the end, Joe? Does it matter, Joe? What the record matters. It don't matter if you beat.
Your record's 0-2.
No,
what do you mean 1-1?
1-1.
You picked them to win last week. You picked them to lose this
week. Are they 1-1? Is the team 1-1? That's what I'm talking about, Joe.
That's a joke. We got some chats to get to. Tyler Fields chats in. Henry needs more touches. Parker is gonna be like Myers in 1 year. Philip Lecter chats in. The tight end has been a non-event with their current play calling. Yeah, listen, and Philip, we're going to get to that, Coach. Stick around for Coach's Corner because Mark's face is going to turn like red, like you see on the screen right now. When we start talking about coaching, Mark, they got to Baltimore, by the way, dropped that game to Miami today, but
Baltimore ended up losing.
Baltimore lost like 42-38, but
oh my God,
they put 38 points on the board. It took 42 to beat them.
Well, we got
next
a problem.
Saturday, we do our Ravens preview next Saturday on Corso and Catone. Tune in because 17 isn't going to cut it.
No, we certainly aren't scoring 42. That's for damn sure.
So this portion of the Pats Nation was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com.
Tyler chats in, Chris. He's thinking Parker, because he's here longer than 1 year, is a year away based on our system.
Well, you can't. You know what? If you're not going to use him the right way, the way he's meant to be used, then he's going to look the same way next year too until we get O'Brien up here from Alabama. So, Philip, Tyler, we appreciate your chat. Stick around for Coach's Corner. When we come back, we're going to talk defense, the other side of the ball. That's coming up.
How do I get to the point where I understand my passion enough to communicate it outward and dial myself in so that I can craft my own sauce? If you don't have anyone that's going to give you the right advice, now you do. We've been discussing where we live and what areas do we want to always talk about. And really, it's startup, it's finance, and drop. We are Special Sauce Podcast.
(17-14) is the final. The Patriots get their first win of the season in Pittsburgh. And listen, switching to the other side of the ball on defense, Mark, it's kind of an odd, you look at this game, okay, and you see 14 points on the board for Pittsburgh, and you think, okay, the defense played well, and I think they allowed one each half, touchdown in the first half,
something
touchdown
like that
in the second half. So you look at it and you say, not terrible. But when you really dive into it, okay, we're seeing a lot of the same stuff, aren't we, Mark, that we had an issue with last year. Talk about the defensive front a little bit and I'm going to give you the stats, okay? So 22 carries, 22 attempts for 91 yards for the Steelers, about 4 yards a carry. So how do you think the front played today? Gottschall, Guy, Barnmore.
I would say uneven. I think in the running game, Chris, the middle of that line is still susceptible to last year. That was an issue, right? That the center of the line, teams could gash you up the middle. And it seemed like when Pittsburgh needed to do that a little bit today, they were able to do it. Don't get me wrong. It was a uneven performance, I thought, by Pittsburgh, but also by our defensive line. And on the edge, Chris, they still, Pittsburgh doesn't have the greatest of running games, but I still don't think we were able to seal the edge consistently. It didn't show it. It hasn't shown it in 2 weeks to me. We haven't played a team yet, Chris, that has a real running game.
Yeah, listen, I didn't have as big of a problem with the edge today as I always have. Now that pisses me off beyond, and everybody knows that. The thing that bothers me
but I think that's a product, Chris,
of
the fact that Pittsburgh doesn't have that ability. You know what I mean?
Well, they run the similar kind of offense. They have that zone blocking scheme, and they let the running back choose. So Harris is he's a bruising, just come at you back that will drag you. So the one thing that I have an issue with is the center of that defense. The thing I have sometimes a problem with Gottschall and Guy, and somewhat Bomber, but he's a little undersized against the run. But you can't put Davis back out there. Last week he was terrible.
No,
is they'll get dragged. When the teams need a yard, when they need 2 yards, they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it. It's very rare that you see our front making tackles into the backfield. Now, is that nitpicking? Did they have a decent game today? Yeah. They played pretty well. There were a lot of tough yards coming, but the passing game, the Trubinsky is so bad, okay, that, you kind of look at it and say, well, who are we going to criticize? Let's criticize the front. Look, like I said, the defensive backs, the safeties came up and played that run really well, I thought, to the edge. And it looks like that's what they were doing. That's what their scheme was going to be today. Was to collapse that pocket or collapse the tackles down and force it to the edge. Because Harris is not a speed guy. He's not a guy that's going to get to the edge and go down the field. So it looks like they were trying to force to the edge. And the safeties, I thought, played well. A couple of bad tackles up in the shoulder, which I love when that happens. But so I think it was pretty good. 91 yards. I'd like to see a little better than that. But again, I think that Gottschall, Guy, Davis, Barmore, they can play a lot better. and they're going to have to, especially with, Lamar Jackson next week, that he's going to keep the ball, tuck it down and go. So, again, to me, that's the front. But as far as pass, pressure, they had 3 sacks, and I'll get the numbers while you're talking about it as to who had them, but they were getting consistent pressure in the backfield.
They did. And that I thought was better today, Chris. That pressure in the backfield was better. Okay. And I thought they did a good job at that. And I think they have the guys, Chris, that can pressure the quarterback. I mean, and they're going to have to do that during the course of this year if they're going to have success, because I don't think the secondary, the corners are really, I think our corners are going to struggle against better teams and better receivers. So we're going to have to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think we have the capability of doing that. However, Mayo and Belichick, the kid, are going to have to dial up some pressure, Chris. They're going to have to do more of what.
Also vanilla. It was also vanilla.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to have to do more of what they did a couple of years ago when, what the heck was his name? Oh my God, now I'm drawing a blank. The guy that went to Miami and now he coached when Flores was here. They're gonna have to start to dial up some of those looks, Chris, I think. But I think you have the guys to run that system now. Where when Flores was there, I don't think you had as many guys that could do what we have guys now that could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like I say, I mean, the sacks today came from Judon. It looked like it was Judon, Barmore, and the linebacker. Is it how do you say that guy's name? Tavi.
Yeah, which you don't like.
I just think that McMillan and Wilson, and we'll talk about Wilson in a second, because he may be my Sunday seat today.
Well, Chris, we got a ton of chats coming in here by Tyler Fields.
All right, let's get to a couple of them here.
Yeah, he's got a ton of them coming in on defense here.
The clock. He says the clock. We can be. What's he talking about here, Mark? My thing next week for facing Baltimore. Look, we beat the Ravens with Cam in the rain. There's no rain this time coming around. If we can limit the turnover battle, run the ball effectively, and chew up the clock, we can beat Baltimore. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's absolutely. Can they beat Baltimore? Yeah, but the problem is, Tyler,
he says he loves hybrid linebackers. Hybrid backers, essentially our safeties coming down into the box, blitzing or taking on the tight ends or running backs. Duggar is a beast. Peppers is a stud. And Phillips is solid. Basically what you said.
And you know why? Because, Tyler, you have a clue. You actually have a clue. Because the New England fans, we know what we're talking about, right, Mark? I mean,
there we go.
Tyler, you have a clue, and that's why. We talked about all season long last year and in the offseason about what, Mark? Getting what onto the field?
Yep.
And the defense in the middle of that field. Speed. We want speed. We want athleticism in our linebackers. Bentley isn't that, Mark. And he wasn't again today.
But that's your buddy.
And he wasn't again today. And the speed, Tyler, was one of the reasons for that interception, that tip drill that went to one of the safeties on the interception, because Mark, can I break that play down?
Yeah, you got to break it down. You got to break it down.
This is the example of why Bentley shouldn't be on this field anymore, and why guys like Wilson should with the speed. So what happens is Trubinsky drops back the pass. Okay, I don't remember I don't remember the coverage behind, but I know that the two linebackers were dropping into the center of the field, right? Like Bentley can't do ever. And by the way, they're coming around on Bentley from last week. From what I said about that Waddle touchdown, But anyway, so they're in the center of the field. Mac Wilson, it's a play action pass. Bentley, what happens to Bentley? Oops. He steps forward and then tries to get back into his zone, whereas Wilson kind of did that one hop, and then boom, with speed, backpedal right into his zone, tipped the ball, got in the throwing lane, and there was an interception. There's the difference, Tyler. There's the difference. When you put speed on the field at the linebacker, okay, you're going to get plays like that. When you put guys that run a 5-second 40, okay, they can't get out of their own way, that bite on play action and all that kind of stuff, yeah, that's the kind of stuff you're going to get with Bentley, Hightower, all these guys that are dinosaurs that aren't that kind of player anymore. Mark, is that what yes?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And the other thing, Chris, that Tyler mentions is he says Mills is stale. And I just got to touch on this. He says he's hot and cold. He's talking about Butler not going down, whatever. But then he says he could have been solid. I think they're going to have to let Marcus Jones, Sean Wade, and Jack Jones play more to quickly develop. And the reason I'm calling that out by Tyler is because I don't want to see Bryant on the field, Miles Bryant again, ever. Tyler, I don't ever want to see Miles Bryant on the field ever again. So I agree with you 1,000,000%. Marcus Jones, Sean Wade, and Jack Jones have to be on the field.
Yeah, Miles Bryant has no business. By the way, even in special teams, did you see the first kickoff they had to us? He bobbled it. He went into the end zone with it.
How is Marcus Jones not even active?
He wasn't active today, and I don't know if he's still dealing with some kind of injury or if this is another one of Belichick's stupidity of we're going to redshirt this guy for the only 4 years that we got him anyway on a rookie contract. Let's redshirt him for 1 year, right? That makes a lot of sense. The best special teams returner in college football last year was Marcus Jones out of Houston, and he's been inactive at this point. But Mark, when they dropped Duggar back to return kicks instead of Bryant, 35 yards when he brings it up. They did it with Pierre Strong a little bit too. I don't know why they didn't keep Duggar back there.
By the way, Duggar, Chris, when he was drafted, the year he was drafted, he was the best kick returner in college football. So you got two guys in Duggar and Marcus Jones who coming out of college, the year that they came out, were both two of the best kick returners in college football. Why you got Miles Bryant ever back there receiving punts or kickoffs is beyond me. I don't get it.
I don't know why Miles Bryant is playing. I don't know what the undrafted guy. I mean, Belichick loves these guys. It's either that or he's from Rutgers. One of those two things.
Yeah, I don't get it. Why? To prove that why? Is it to prove he drafted another guy that was undrafted and he made him into something? I mean, Miles Bryant isn't that guy.
Well, I could tell you this. You saw Bryant. Bryant could not hang with those receivers. Claypool. He was getting eaten up by Claypool.
And listen, you brought up the fact that Mills struggled today.
He did. But when Jack Jones came on the field, he covered up so much better than Miles Bryant.
Of course he did.
But Tyler, to your point on Mills. Mills got chewed up and spit out today by Johnson. I mean, he just did. He took him. He just ate his lunch for him. Johnson did to Mills. And that's our number one corner, right? I mean,
who's supposed to be.
Now, I don't know if Jonathan Jones went out of this game.
Yeah, I didn't see him much after. Yeah, you're right.
I have to look at that. But Mark, the one thing that's going to really, really make you happy right now is guess who was leading the team in tackles today?
I don't even want to hear it. Who?
Miles Bryant. Miles Bryant. But see, this is where the stats to me.
And this is why the stats sometimes are deceiving. But can I tell you something? Yeah. That justifies, that crazy stat is how Belichick will justify having him on the field. Yeah. Even though that's a useless statistic based on what I saw today.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing with the corner play. We knew it was going to be a problem this year. We knew there was going to be issues with it. I thought they were pretty good last week. You know what I mean? This week they were worse. I thought Mills had a tough game. I mean, look, you're going to give Johnson. I mean, he's a great receiver. I get it, but you're going to give that guy way too much respect when you got a clown like Trubinsky throwing the ball. Who, by the way, if they had a slightly better quarterback today, they probably beat the Patriots.
Well, I have to believe next week they'll have the rookie from Pittsburgh playing. If they don't, then they're crazy. If they don't.
Yeah, and
Tomlin lost his mind. Tomlin's lost his mind if he puts Trubinsky back there again.
Trubinsky was 21 of 33 for 168 yards, a touchdown, and interception. By the way, those are similar numbers, if not almost identical to Mac Jones. Almost identical. But you got to watch the game. You can't. If you look at the numbers, you look at Trubinsky. And I thought the two quarterbacks were bad today.
Yeah,
I thought.
I agree with that. They were bad. I agree with that.
So I mean, Trubinsky's a joke to me. But Mills gave a little too much respect to Johnson, and he just got eaten up. But the safeties, Mark, saved the day. They saved the day.
Peppers was on the field a lot today, Chris.
Duggar, Peppers, had another solid game. McCourty, once again, he's kind of invisible out there. I mean, I think this is his swan song this season. But I thought the safeties played well. I thought the outside backers played well. The defensive end. The interior was the problem that I had.
Phillips did give up that touchdown over the middle again. Tight end. Couldn't stop it, right? The touchdown.
Yep. So, again, the center of the field for the defense continues to be a problem as long as they have guys like Bentley on the field. Okay? They got to clean up some things on the front with the front. And the running game. And by the way, somebody's got to figure out how to cover tight ends. And I think maybe a bit Duggar, because Andrews comes to town next week, Mark. I don't even get started on
you had to bring him up, right?
Mark wanted Andrews in the draft a few years ago.
In the worst way.
In the worst way, and they just didn't do it. And
Chris, I have a replacement at corner. Tyler says he can run a 4.4.
There you go.
He's 5'10".
That's it. Well, he's part of the Pats Nation now. So, you know what? Let's get him up to New England. Let's get him a tryout. Let's get him on the field because anything's better than Miles Bryant right now. So let's do that. But going to have to get better. Going to have to get a lot better when they play Baltimore next week. So our defensive breakdown was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, it's what everybody's waiting for. It's what they show on the screen all day long. Coach's Corner is next.
It's that time again for a timeout from Pats Nation for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket, or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. CORSO Law Group. Now back to Pats Nation.
Back in with more Pats Nation, the only Patriots postgame show worth watching. Listen, Coach's Corner now. Hey, Mark, gear up out there because I think Mark's going to get a little red in the face right now. Joe, let's have it.
Coach's Corner.
Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, Mark, because that's what everybody's been talking about. It's what everybody's been talking about all summer into game one and now into game two. We talked a little bit about it at the top and through our offensive breakdown. Look, can we just stop talking about Joe Judge now? I mean, do we need to talk about Judge anymore?
No.
I
don't think we do.
What is his function? Every time he talks to Mac Jones on the sidelines, I want him to just...
You're right. It seems like he's just... I don't know. He's tracking plays. I don't know what he's doing, I don't know what his function is or role is. But when Jones goes to the sidelines, Chris,
that's who's sitting next to him.
It's Judge, but it doesn't seem like
I've gone to bed with better thoughts.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like Chris. He's really doing what a quarterback coach would do. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's a hybrid. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But here's my issue. Two things, Chris, quickly, and then I want you to see what your thoughts are. Number one, I brought up earlier, 2 games in a row, first drive, you come out, you look good, you're driving. Last week we had the pick, the end of drive. I get it. This week we get the field goal. Next drive, defensive team adjusts, and we struggle after that for an extended period of time. We couldn't counter the adjustment in real game time. And the second piece of it is Mac Jones just doesn't feel comfortable. So what is that about? That he doesn't feel comfortable. So there's got to be something to it.
The offense, well, first of all, with Joe Judge, I mean, Mac Jones threw the pick, okay? They came over to the sidelines. Judge was on the bench with them. Now, when I go back and watch it again, maybe we'll see something at a different angle or whatever, or we'll hear what they say this week. But he looks like he's trying to talk to him, and Mac Jones is just like, dude, go get my water. You know what I mean? Like,
because I don't think Judge has enough of an understanding of the offense himself to actually help this kid. So when
he's out of sorts like that, that's my problem. That's the problem I'm having with the offensive operation.
Yeah.
First of all, they had to use a couple of timeouts, okay, on offense. One at the beginning of the third quarter, which is just inexcusable. I mean, you can forgive it a little bit in the first half, but you can't give up those timeouts in the second half like that because the play's not coming onto the field in time. They had delay of games. I think they had 2 of them or close to 2, and they had to call a timeout. The play wasn't right. There were guys bumping into each other. They almost had a penalty with the guys in the huddle. Guy coming into that's that rule where once the quarterback gets into the huddle, there can't be a substitution. So they had that issue, and that's why I think they called the timeout. So the operation of the offense just isn't good. And when it's crunch time, Mark, when it's those third down plays, things are going quick, the clock's moving. I don't think Patricia has any idea, what he needs to do, which is why I think you see it's so vanilla, don't? I mean, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. That's why you see it so vanilla, because of what you have on that side of the ball and what they're able to do and what they're able to scheme up. But you would think during the week, somehow, some way, they could put their heads together with Belichick and even with Brian Hoyer and come up with
that in a second. Yeah.
And come up with something that isn't as vanilla. I mean, shit. You know what? Screw it. Just make Hoyer the goddamn OC and give him the headset. Forget what the hell.
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing with the numbers. Everybody looks at that, 30-30 as far as rush pass and says, hey, very balanced today, very balanced. You know what I also see in today's game? When I see a balanced offense like that, yeah, that's fine. That's good. But it also tells me there's no feel for the game either. Okay, it tells me that the offensive coordinator is sitting in this thing hell-bent on being balanced, but not feeling the game. There were a few occasions where, you saw the box being stacked, and they were third and shorts, and they're just, it's a simple, stretch run or running, nothing creative, no screens, nothing like that. And by the way, Mac Jones wasn't checking out of it. He had another off day as far as reading the other side of the ball. In the fourth quarter, he was better with his checks and setting up his protection. But earlier in the game, he wasn't so good. But the point is, I want to see a little imbalance there. Because that tells me the offensive coordinator is feeling what's happening in the game.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Chris. At some point, you got to feel what's going on in the game, and there's something that they're trying to do they're trying to take away from you that's going to open up a different part of the game. And if you can't feel at it, and you can't make that quick adjustment where, hey, they're stacking a box, so we're going to throw the ball 45 times today because they're giving it to us, and we're going to take it. Then that's a problem. You can't just 30-30 just for the sake of being 30-30. Like, you know what I mean? That's a good point, Chris, that you're bringing up. And that is their problem. And that's a problem because they don't understand the nuances of play calling and offense in an NFL at the NFL level, Chris. It's different. It's different.
It's affecting Jones. It's absolutely affecting Jones. Now, you're going to hear it all week long how pitiful the coaching staff is because the local media needs it to be pitiful because that's what they've been pumping.
The local media is jumping on them, Chris, but I haven't heard the local media once mention what you just mentioned about the feel for the game and the 30-30 and why that's an issue with you. I haven't heard anybody say that. They're just jumping on these guys to jump on them.
No. Well, listen, like I said, again, it's just, and I don't know if that's going to improve, but I can see it. You can see it in Jones. Mac Jones is not pleased. He's not, he's a guy. This is a guy that played at Alabama. He knows what a good offense looks like.
Of course,
Kendrick Bourne played for Shanahan. Okay. Last year he played for McDaniels here. He knows what a good offense looks like. And these guys know they're not looking at they're not looking at a good system, maybe not a system, but they're not looking at a good operation. of the offense, which includes the feel of the game.
Listen, so you realize at one point, Mac Jones was on the field with 3 first-round draft picks at wide receiver. Right. So I think, you know what I mean? I mean, the kid can throw the ball, Chris. Listen, I understand he hasn't looked good the first 2 weeks, and he underthrew that ball last week, and he threw that bad pass again today on the pick. Okay, but listen, he had 3 first-round NFL receivers on the field at Alabama, and he threw the ball all over the field. Right. So he can throw the ball, Chris.
He knows. He understands. And the offensive line played well. They played well when they weren't committing penalties. So he had a clean pocket. And I will give him this. He stepped up. He moved around a little bit. But, yeah, he's not comfortable with what's going on. He's yelling at the sideline. And you're right, Tyler. It should have been 31-14 today. Philip chats in with 2 games in. Have the Patriots OCs proved anyone else wrong? No. They've proved nobody wrong. No. Not yet. For all the things we're saying and all the reasons we're saying. But, Mark, the one telling thing, I don't know if you saw this. This was subtle. And one of the timeouts, Brian Hoyer's in that huddle, okay? And he's controlling the huddle on the sideline during the timeout. He is. The backup quarterback is coaching the damn offense.
Chris, that's why they're paying him what they're paying him at his age to be a backup. They have to. They have to. What are they going to do? You can't count on the two guys, Patricia and Judge.
Well, they're getting slammed finally in the national media, and particularly Belichick.
It should be, because Tyler brings up a good point, Chris. It should have been 31-14 today.
That's right. And you know what? And they're getting slammed nationally, and Belichick's getting slammed. Mark, the personnel decisions, too. Well, to keep Kendrick Bourne off that field, to try to throw balls downfield to Parker, doing things like this.
And Chris, listen, but Chris, this is going back to what you said last week. Those are from days going by. You put these guys in the doghouse, really?
Yeah, I mean, look, and I thought some of the players played well. I mean, God, Jacoby Myers played well. The backs played well. You know what I mean? But when the operation isn't that good, this is what it looks like. You got 17 points on the ball when you should have 30. You know, and that's the way they were moving the ball. Now, penalties killed them. That's not pre-snap penalties are not coaching. I mean, that's on the, that's on the player and execution. But when your backup quarterback is running a huddle like that on the sideline and your OC just kind of standing there with the pencil in his ear, the moron, maybe his beard is getting in his head and growing inside and getting into his brain, Matt Patricia. I'm not really sure. But Belichick's getting lambasted, and he shouldn't he, Mark?
Oh, he absolutely should. And how about this week? We heard a little bit about, Kraft wasn't happy that Bourne wasn't more involved in the game last week. What the hell? Are you kidding me?
Kraft was up in the box.
He was drooling on himself last week, sitting next to Mike Tyson, for Christ's sakes.
He looks like Tyson was. They need Tyson to come down on the field and give one of those uppercuts and get rid of Patricia. Get him off the field.
Jesus Christ. Come on. Kraft was upset. All of a sudden, Kraft's upset. Really?
Look, the personnel decisions, the doghouse stuff with Belichick, getting into the doghouse, the playing undrafted guys like Miles Bryant and putting him on the field when you drafted the best special teams player in college football, returner in college football last year. Is he just a dinosaur at this point? I mean, is that it? It's
Well, listen, I mean, that's a whole another show. I mean, talking about that. I mean, we've talked about his personnel decisions, right? And yeah, in certain instances, Chris, he is a dinosaur. That's why he's got your favorite player on the field, Bentley, because that big thumping linebacker in the middle of the field. That's from a yesteryear of football that don't work anymore in this NFL. But that's his player, and he looks at him. He'd rather have him than the guy from Georgia, Dean, that you wanted in the draft. He'd rather have Bentley.
Don't get me started on that. But he, and Belichick's a special teams guy, right?
Yeah, supposedly.
So you have Miles Bryant returning kicks. He's bumbling and stumbling over himself on the first kick return. So now he puts Duggar out there, who gets a 35-yard return. So then you go and put Pierre Strong out there? Why?
Yeah,
what's wrong with Duggar? I don't understand. He played.
Are they afraid they don't want to get him injured? Okay, I understand that. So then Marcus Jones, if he's healthy, maybe he's still nursing that injury. I don't know. But if Marcus Jones is healthy and you don't want to put Duggar back there, well, put friggin' Marcus Jones back there. That's what one of his best assets in college was, for crying out loud.
Yeah. And so, Mark, on the other side of the ball, mullet man, Steve Belichick, I had a text from a friend of mine today that said, I need to see the coach with the long hair on the screen more. He's talking about Mr. Mullet, Mr. Belichick,
mullet.
Steve Belichick with the mullet over there.
But Chris, I will say this though, they did personnel wise. They did.
Miles Bryant
is just inconceivable. And Tyler and I have already gone into this Miles Bryant thing. He shouldn't be on the field ever. You still think Bentley's on the field way too much, right? But they did. I'm going to give him credit on the interception. They did do what you yelled last week for them to do. Maybe they watched the show.
Yeah, no, I give him credit for getting Mac Wilson on the field. I just need you now to get Bentley off the field. That's it. Because when Bentley went out hurt today, the center of that field improved.
Did he come back though?
He came back, and then,
Yeah, but Chris, do you realize that they thought that was highlighted as a key free agent signing when they re-signed Bentley?
Unacceptable. I will give them this. They kept Davis off the field today.
They did, which was good.
Lineman, and they put Barnmore back out there a lot. So, again, I have less of a problem with what the defensive coaching is doing on that side of the ball. And you know that they're pretty much on their own. Belichick Belichick's just sitting in the offensive huddle now. Like it's not even.
Well, he's going to have to do that even more based on these first two performances and based on what your schedule is going to eventually become. But yeah, Chris, personnel wise on the defensive side of the ball, Miles Bryant's going to come off the field. That's my biggest thing. And I know you want Bentley off the field. And unfortunately, guys like Mills, Chris, are just going to have to step up their game. You can't do what you did today with a guy like Johnson.
Do you think that keeping Jack Jones, Marcus Jones was inactive, okay, and maybe he's just still hurt with that injury, but keeping Jack Jones off the field in favor of Miles Bryant, do you think that that's a Steve Belichick decision, or do you think that's coming from the big boy?
I think that's coming from Big Bill. I find it hard to believe. Chris, if you watch film.
Because Mayo's pretty good at that.
Okay, if you go back and watch film, and I know you watch film every week, right? After for the, what you're doing, right? If you're watching film every week, how is Miles Bryant still on the field? I don't know.
I don't have an explanation for it. Everything he does is subpar to me. Now, again, the worst player.
Granted, he led the team in tackles today, though, Chris. So they're going to highlight that.
You know what? But you know what? When a corner is leading the team in tackles, that's just another indictment on the front and the middle of the field. Also, let's look at the tackles he was leading them in. These were all downfield tackles up at the shoulder and dragging for another 3 yards. So don't get enamored with those stats. Okay, but again, I have less of a problem. I wouldn't mind seeing Mayo take over this team, to be totally honest with you. So let's see what happens moving forward. They're playing against a good coach next week, a real good coach. Okay. We don't like him, but Harbaugh's a good coach. So Coach's Corner was presented by Studio 42 Designs. For all your graphic design needs, studio42designs.com. And hey, it's that time again. For those of you who don't know, our Sunday stiff, and maybe we have a Sunday seat. Somebody who could sit at the table with us and eat today. But Joe, let's have it. I defer to you.
What, you're going to ask me who my Sunday stiff is? Listen, I don't care how many tackles he had. My stiff is Miles Bryant. I don't want to see him on a field again. I don't get it. I don't understand it. You're putting him back there to return kicks. As you said, he muffed the kick. Miles Bryant is not an NFL player.
Yeah.
If he is, he's at the back end of a roster playing around with the practice squad, and maybe in case of a slew of injuries, you bring him up. He should not be getting significant reps on a defense that's supposed to be coached by a Hall of Famer. Are you kidding me? Really? He's my Sunday stiff.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. My Sunday stiff is going to be Mac Jones with an assist by Matt Patricia. Or the other way around.
Okay, there we go.
Patricia with an assist by Mac Jones. Either way, Mac Jones was uneven today. He was off. We talked about that at the opening during Mac Mania. He's 76 passer rating, I don't buy into all that crap. He didn't look right. He still hasn't looked right. He had a nice clean pocket all day. He wasn't sacked at all. Okay. But he was rushing throws. He was throwing off his back foot like he did last week. He was flat-footed a lot of times throwing the ball. He skipped some balls. He made poor decisions in ball placement. Okay. And why I give Patricia the assist is looking at Jones' body language after plays, getting the play call in. It's not a good offensive operation right now. So, yeah, Mac Jones is my Sunday stiff with Matt Patricia with the assist. So, gentlemen, it's that time. Time flies when you're having fun. Mark's still red in the face, and we're going to hopefully we'll get to more of this next week and with Corso and Catone. The Pats Nation postgame was presented by Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel, and that's going to be Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join us next Saturday, and we're going to have our preview of the Patriots-Ravens game as the Patriots open up at home against the Ravens. We'll have all the preview and pregame coverage of that. And make sure you give us a call this week. We want to hear from you in the heated hotline, 855-313-PATS. All your thoughts on Corso and Catone. Come back next Sunday for the Pats Nation, the only Patriots postgame show worth watching, 30 minutes following that Patriots-Ravens game. So for Mark Catone, Joe Guarnieri, I'm Chris Corso. Final score, Patriots 17, Steelers 14. See you next Sunday.